to a local friends organization or NPF to find out how they can do even more through whether it's their wills and other kinds of planning, or whether it's just another way to show support.
Again, along the theme of preserving America's special places, the Leopold Report, we've talked about it a lot. I'm happy to report the foundation is committed to full funding for the Leopold Report. So that work's ongoing, and we're happy to support it. The other thing that's very intriguing about the National Park Service is, and I don't think they toot their horn well enough in some areas sometimes, because there's so many teachable moments and things that they do. And by example, one of the partnerships that we have with the Park Service is we do lighting projects. Case in point, we relit the exterior of the Lighthouse and through a partnership with the National Park Service and Musco Lighting. And in doing that, reduced the energy consumption of that lighting by 87%. A lot of lessons learned. Went down to Big Bend, changed out the lighting and the structures down there to provide the necessary lighting at night for people, wayfinding people can get to their rooms, but preserving the night sky. Very important. Again, call on the call to action. And so this Best Lighting Practices program, we're going to expand, working with Musco and the Park Service, funding to create a set of best lighting practices standards for the Park Service, so that energy consumption come down, the night sky can be preserved. And then, the popular question I always get is the endowment. And I do have an answer for you. No, I have not raised $1 billion yet. But we very much believe in the endowment. Right? Everyone is. We're intrigued with it. We see that as a conversation amongst all of us. It's a huge opportunity, and it needs to involve all of us in how it's structured. More than likely, it'll be a series of many endowments leading up to a total of $1 billion. I will say, though, I see the $1 billion as a milestone, not an endpoint.
All right, I think the final bucket is on organizational excellence, and I'll be very brief. Two perspectives. Number one, it's clear that the need is to have organizational excellence not just in the Park Service, but in all of your partners. So it's concessioners, friends, all of the people who are involved there. In many parks, there are as many people on a daily basis working in the parks that are non-Park Service employees as Park Service employees, and we need to just reflect and create that same kind of culture of excellence and safety and everything else with all of those. And the final thing I would say is that I'm particularly intrigued with the teacher, ranger teacher program, and what I think should be a sister program, which is the doctor, ranger, doctor program. Those of you who know Michael Sue can realize what an impact he had, an orthopedic trauma surgeon coming in and being the White House fellow to the Secretary of Interior and helping to bring about some major changes. We should open the door to other kinds of innovative personnel exchanges like that, because I think the agency and all of us will benefit greatly.
On the last one, organizational excellence, NPCA Center for Park Management has been an active partner with the Park Service supporting their work in this direction. We look forward to continuing supporting any and all of those action steps. We think they're strong and solid and very much headed in the right direction.
Great. And just as a capstone on that, from the foundation's perspective, our impact grants program, where we see small grants can make a very big difference. These are grants that we make to the local park level, and it's really to foster creative ideas and see how they can grow. And so we remain committed to that program.
Great. That was a whirlwind set of thoughts. Hope they were sparking some of your thinking and can help guide or encourage your thoughts in the breakout sessions. We want to take, I think we've got 10 to 15 minutes right now. Thoughts, reactions, questions, comments that you would have for the full group here, catalyzed by this discussion. Any questions or comments folks have right now? Vestry, please. Please.
The dark cloud that looms over this great call to action, it seems to me, is the maintenance backlog. And the mantra that you should take care of what you have before you reach out for more, which we've all heard. It seems to me that the Park Service needs to think about expanding opportunities for its local partners and the concessionaires to, if you will, offload more of that backlog onto other people's shoulders. And ask them to take on many of these. There's thousands of classified or historic structures in that maintenance backlog that other people could manage for productive uses that can serve the public, the visitor, and that partner in effective ways. It seems to me that organizations like the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, of which I'm very familiar, a unit of the National Park System, Appalachian National Scenic Trail, manages all the operational and maintenance aspects of that trail and has a dedicated constituency that's comparable to any in terms of its devotion to that place. And one of the ways to enhance that kind of devotion in the public is to give them more responsibility for more of these kinds of places. And that would require the Park Service to be willing to share its responsibility a little more, instead of just asking its partners to go raise money for them, to say, we want you to manage this place for us, or this aspect of our park for us. In the same way the Central Park Conservancy manages Central Park in New York City, not the city agency. I mean, the agency has responsibilities, as does the Park Service for the Appalachian Trail. They do the planning, they do the compliance, they do the law enforcement, but ATC does everything else. And I think there are more places across the system where more partners could do more of those kinds of things than are currently happening.
Great set of comments, Destry. Would anybody like to respond to that thoughtful conceptual direction? Thank you. Good suggestion. Agreed. Please.
I was glad to hear you talk about wanting to add in a commission or a celebration of the centennial. This document's really forward-thinking, what we're going to be doing down the road to get ready and move into the next century, but there wasn't a lot in it about celebrating now what we have, what we've done. You know, we partnered with the Park Foundation on the Dark Sky program in Big Bend. You know, we put $50,000 into that. And that's a really great thing to celebrate. It's, you know, the way the park looks now. You can't see the Dr. Pepper sign from 200 miles away. You know, it's a great thing to celebrate, and it's energy. It's, you know, the view shed. So I think there's not a lot in here about celebrating the things that we've done great, because part of the most important thing you can do in fundraising is celebrate the good things you're doing so that people get excited about funding you. So I was glad to hear you talk about that. That's something that we hope to kind of add into there. Because, you know, funders right now are taking applications for funding for 2014. So we got to have that, you know, teed up and ready to go how we're going to celebrate, because it's not too far off that funders are going to be funding for 2016. Because they're already starting to fund for projects in 2014.
Right. And while 37% of the American public wants to get involved, it's far from 37% of the public that know about the centennial. So engaging them in different ways and then ultimately celebrating with them. John, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, let me just, we didn't talk about this very much, but we are, part of the call to action is to find out where this great work is going and then to celebrate it. But we are also thinking about what are we doing in 2016 to really celebrate this 100 years of legacy as well as the next 100 years. And so we are bringing on a full-time employee that will work in my office up through 2016 to really highlight these opportunities. I mean, there are great things already in planning. For instance, we now have, I think we have a final agreement with the Rose Bowl that the entire 2016 Rose Bowl parade will be on the national parks. Every float will be a national park float, so get your bids in now. We're working on an agreement with Smithsonian for a series of exhibits in every one of their museums on the national parks, whether it's art or history or natural history alike. So there are a lot of other things that are going on. I think at some point somebody in 2016 was going like, what the hell? It's the national parks like every day, every minute. But we were really beginning that planning. And I think that the innovation work that is going to come out of this that's the opportunity to really highlight the work that's going on and celebrate that, because I think you're absolutely right, that's key.
please, right down.
I'm Stephanie Friedman, and I'm the Associate Director for Cultural Resources and Science. And I first want to thank Tom and Derrick and Gil, because I know that your organizations are major partners in protecting both our parks and community historic resources. I just want to mention a group of partners that aren't as well represented in the room today, to make sure that as we move towards planning for the summit, and those partners are our legislatively mandated partners under the National Historic Preservation Act, includes 55 states and territories historic preservation offices, 1,700 certified local governments whose historic preservation boards support your interests at your parks and your communities, 131 tribal historic preservation officers, and many, many other historic societies and organizations throughout the country. So I think they have a major role in carrying out the call to action as partners with all of you, and I want to encourage that we seek their voices as we move forward.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great suggestion, and the type of suggestion, obviously, that can go into our planning for the January summit. So, perfect. Please, Lily.
Thank you very much for all of your great work. My question has to do with connecting people to parks and around youth engagement. A couple of meetings that I've attended in the past talked about reaching out to additional youth organizations, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and whatnot. And it would seem in economically challenged times that aligning ourselves and establishing those outreach partnerships may be a way to really streamline getting youth engaged and in a cost-effective way. That number one, and number two, I also worry about the opportunities for youth and the employment track in the Park Service with some of the hiring challenges that we're all hearing about a little bit. So any comments or feedback would be helpful. Thank you.
I'll speak to the first one. Yeah, Leila, it's a great point, and one of the things that we're very I believe in very much is the people that represent youth and organized youth, like YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, are very important to this call to action and to what we're trying to do with the parks going forward.
Great. And I will add to that, fully agree with Neil, Lily, and we want to engage the youth in enjoying, understanding, inspiring, being inspired by the parks, and getting involved in helping in the future to protect the parks. We want to have them be future advocates for the national parks as well, and that's very consistent with both of your sets of points.
And I just add that I think it's absolutely right. We also don't want to forget one of the key institutes that introduces kids to parks and delivers quality park experiences, and that's called the American family. That's how most of us were introduced to parks, and we can't forget that. And we need to make sure that we use mommy bloggers, we use other kinds of ways to both with old and new media reach out and encourage the American families to put parks on their radar screen.
Please.
Jeff Gabriel with the National Marine Manufacturers Association. This is kind of a question / comment if you guys want to do it now or later in the breakout sessions. But we're talking an awful lot and very encouraged to hear about getting folks out to the parks and that kind of stuff. And I'm just wondering comments or questions about how we sort of balance the dichotomy between getting folks into the parks and pushes in certain different parks to come up with fishing closures, boating closures, and those kinds of things, instead of maybe trying to reach out to these communities that we're talking about to work with them to try to mitigate as opposed to closing, because I'm not sure that that's always the right message. That it's almost like we're going to have two different messages that are coming out at the same time. So hopefully that'll be something that we can address here as well.
Thank you. We've got time for one more question or comment.
Hi, I'm Dan Jensen with ENC Yosemite. I just would like to expand on Duster's comment a little bit about it. Looking for new sources of opportunity for money, but there's a tremendous well-resourced group in this room that through appropriate application of LSI and other principles will allow reduction of backlog, reduction of fuel use because of energy improvements, and there's a system in place today that will allow that to happen through application of rules and policies that give more straightforward opportunity for